Okay, I'm Javier Celaya, and I created a company. Actually, it's going to be 12 years ago, next March, and I help companies that want to understand the Spanish markets, Spain and Latin America, international companies that want to business develop their technology or their content, and the other way around. I help Mexican companies or Spanish companies or Colombian companies to export their content internationally.
And here at Frankfurt, in the context of the Markets Global Publishing Summit, you were speaking on behalf of the Mexican market, or speaking in context of the Mexican market.
Exactly.
What are some of your observations that foreign publishers who are looking to engage either export or import with Mexico should be aware of?
Exactly. I thought it was a very bright idea from the organizers of the event to bring someone who's been doing business in the country for the last years to give them insights about the market, its developments, and which things to take in consideration. And basically, my first observation has been that there's still no business in terms of digital. Okay. It's only 1% of total sales, and everyone is expecting, because of the proximity to the U.S. market, that is going to be much more rapid. The development of ebooks in Mexico than what happened in Spain 5 years ago.
Mexico is also playing a role of somewhat of a thought leader in the digital space for the rest of Latin America.
Indeed.
Is that indeed the case? And could you extrapolate on that idea?
Well, actually happens to, I will say, anything that takes place in the publishing sector.
Okay.
It is because of their size. Mexico is the largest country by far in the region. Actually, when people think about Spanish, they think about Spain, but actually Mexico has 122 million people,
okay.
Whereas in Spain we are only 45 million.
Okay.
Actually, the second country with more people speaking Spanish is the U.S. You have 57 million who speak Spanish. So Mexico is the leader in the region, and anything that they embrace, anything that they take a decision in terms of developing a new business model or taking an approach to digital or to culture, the rest of the countries in the market follow up.
But this becomes more complicated when you look at the fact that the government is itself the biggest producer and biggest consumer of books. Exactly. In the entire country. So how does this impact this type of...
I think the last figure that I was analyzing a couple of days ago is up to 64% of what's being produced and sold in Mexico is basically somehow controlled by the government. But it happens across the region. Okay. And it happened in Spain before the crisis. So I think it's a singular description of the Spanish market, which is good news and bad news for the publishing sector as well as for foreign publishers coming into the Mexican market. For example, 14% of the total content bought by the government is English content for
yes.
Learning English in schools. Therefore, there's huge opportunity for Anglo-Saxon publishers to bring their content into the picture. What happens is if you do not win the bid by the government, you're out of the market. So in one respect, it's very good
they're
because if you're the winner,
in some way.
Yeah, exactly, they're a market maker. So yes, your biggest client will always be the government, but there's a very good sign in the marketplace that more and more independent publishers and more local publishers are becoming also part of the game, which I think in the medium term it will balance the sector.
And what are the market dynamics like? Is this a market that is actually growing, or is it remaining stable like so many of the markets around the world?
Well, it is growing because they have a population that is extremely young.
Okay.
60% of their population is below 35 years of age. Because of the last 10 years of economic stability, the country has basically rebumped their consumption levels, and you have now a growing middle class, which means pesos, dollars to be spent.
Right.
You also have to bear in mind that most of the Mexican families, either they have a family member working in the U.S. or studying in the U.S. There are 20 million Mexicans in the U.S., which means that they are quite accustomed to the technology, quite accustomed to the day-to-day behaviors, and that's being brought back into the country. In sum, it is a potential growing country for digital as well as print because there is a growing population that is
becoming
desperate
savvy
for savvy and for consumption.
It's an aspirational activity, reading
exactly.
and cultural consumption.
And we have seen in any developing economy that once you approach a middle level class, the
Yes.
first thing that you acquire is more culture and more education, and that's where Mexico is right now.
Thank you very much, Javier.
Thank you very much
It's very good information.